Alright guys, we're back and I've got a lot going on here, so we're actually going to have a couple of videos coming with some different things. I've been working with the wallpaper, and the second floor has actually taken a whole lot of thinking through things to figure out how I'm doing these rooms up here and what order I need to do stuff in. And it's also taken a whole lot of experimenting because I've never done this wallpaper before, so I had to figure out what the best way was to do this. So I've actually had to recut these inside walls probably 3 or 4 times each because of different things I screwed up. So I'll let you know what I've done here and what I've screwed up so that you guys don't have to make the same mistakes. So first of all, the wallpaper. I basically just printed this wallpaper on just regular paper on my inkjet printer. So nothing fancy there. And this was my first attempt at putting it on, and I think you can see in here it's gotten really blotchy. This piece of the wall has really warped bad on this stuff. I mean, you can see it got wrinkled and blotchy. It was really hard to put on. This was a mess, and the reason this was such a mess is because I used white glue here, just regular old white glue. That is not the thing to do because the water content in that is way too high for this. So this piece I had to ditch, and this, same thing here. So that was a mess. So what I decided was that, so here's my second attempt at this. You see this came out a whole lot better, much flatter piece, nice and smooth here on the wallpaper, and that's because I used glue sticks. This is what you want to use to put the wallpaper on. Now, I happen to like the purple stuff because I can see where I've put it on the whiteboard, and it's just easier for me. That's not a necessity, it's just I like it. So basically I just cut out a piece. I've got a few here, so I just cut out a piece of paper to match my cutout, put the glue stick on there, and then just pop this on and smooth it out. I'm just using my fingers to burnish it, but if you've got a burnishing tool, that probably work better because then the oils from your fingers don't get on here. I'm having to be kind of careful that I don't get glue and on this, and that my hands are clean and relatively oil free when I'm rubbing that around, because I don't want to smear the ink, because it is just inkjet paper. Now I've let it dry enough, but still you don't want to be too rough with it. Alright, so what I had to do is figure out how I was going to do all this. So essentially the order I've done this in is of course I have my 4 outside walls here that were already put together. So I cut out my inside wall for this part, and I've cut out the inside walls on both sides here. I went ahead and laid in the paper first. So you can see I've started on this side. I just cut out a piece of paper, laid it in. Now for the windows, I went ahead and papered over the whole thing, and then once the glue dried, I just came back in from this side and sliced the paper with a really sharp scalpel. It just sliced right out. So that's how I'm doing the windows. And the doors too, for the door side. I'm not trying to cut the paper around the doors first. I'm just cutting a rectangle, pasting it on, and then come back and cut the paper out. It's much easier that way. So after I did that, I had to think about the order in which I'm doing all the woodwork and stuff. So I put the floors in first because I wanted to be able to cover them over with the trim so we'd have nice edges. So I put the floors in, and essentially those are just these wooden stir sticks that I've cut to length. And you can see, I'll try to zoom in a little bit and see if you can see that I've kind of cut these like you would lay actual floor. So it's a little hard to see there, but I've got joints in here, cut in here. So I would cut all these the right length first, and then I'd come back, and as I was laying them in, I just cut them at various spots and lay each piece in so that I have joints in there. Now, the way these are colored is, I'm not going to tell you now, but extra bonus points to anybody who can tell me in the comments how I colored this wood. and I'll go over that in the next video. Right now we're going to deal with the wallpaper. So that's essentially how I've done the wallpapering, and I've had to think out then, once I got all the wallpapering, well, for this side done, once I got all that wallpapering in place, then I had to think about, put the floors down. Then I had to put the window trim on the inside, and then I started just trimming out the different areas. And I had to think about this quite a bit and do a bunch of dry fitting to figure out which pieces of trim to put in, because this was still a separate piece here. So I had to decide, I've got to put these corner pieces in first, then put in the top and bottom trim, and then put the corner pieces on the side, and then trim this out and measure it all. So it was kind of a pain. I had to make sure to leave enough room on the bottom of this trim here so that it would sit on top of the wood flooring. So this is the importance of dry fitting and going back and rethinking and thinking through what you're doing, because if I hadn't thought this through, I'd have had a complete mess here. And I also have not glued this in yet, because, so you can see it's all ready to fit in there, and it fits in pretty nice, and all I got to do is glue it in. And I can actually just slide it down in there. So I will glue that in at some point, but I don't want to do that yet because there's going to be decoration and furniture and stuff in these rooms, and I don't want to try to do that while that wall's here. So I'm going to go ahead and furnish and decorate these rooms before I put this wall on, so I'm not fighting with trying to get my hand in this little small area, because that's just going to be a mess. Now also I've got started the walkway for the upper floors. So this is kind of how this is going to work. So you can see I've got this going. I've got a piece over, I wallpapered this with this area, so this will sit right here. And then there's another piece that's going to sit across here. I have got this piece with the two rooms on this side, which you can't really see, and then there's a divider in here. So I still have to wallpaper this room down here. So I haven't wallpapered that one yet, but I've got this one wallpapered. This one's wallpapered. So this is the last wallpapering I've got to do on the rooms. And then I've got I got to put the wood flooring on this side. So I'm putting this together first, getting the wood flooring down here before I put the trim here, because this trim has to sit up on top of the wood floor on this walkway. So this has just been a tremendous thinking exercise to engineer how all this stuff is going to go together, so I literally did not want to paint myself into a corner. That would have been bad. Now here's another example of why it's a good idea to go back and dry fit things after, very often when you're building stuff like this. I had already cut this piece for over here with the two doors, and after I put this together, I dry fit this, and thank God, because this is where the stairs are right here. This door was hanging over. I'd cut this door over too far. Now if I had gone ahead and wallpapered all this and trimmed it out and gotten it all set and then put it in there and discovered this, I'd have been really, really upset. So fortunately all I had to do was recut this piece once I figured that out. But that's why you want to dry fit this stuff and go through and think about what you're doing as you're building projects that are complicated like this. Smaller projects usually don't take that, but this one has a lot of engineering involved to get things to work out right, and make sure the first and the second floors will go together properly, and it's just become kind of an engineering, mess. So I'm having to do a lot of thinking here. It's one of the reasons it's going kind of slow. But anyway, that's where we are. Next time I should have a good bit more of this finished. And I will go over what I did for staining the floors. and hopefully we can get a lot of this second story done, and maybe I'll even have some of the decoration in and we can go over what I'm doing with that. So, hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time. Until then, you guys have a good one. Bye.